Hello crafty friends, this is the Papered Chef here. In today's Brother Scan and Cut tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create nugget treats. The nugget treats we'll be creating are going to highlight our new ink colors by Stampin' Up. There are a lot of steps to follow, and we're going to use the Scan and Cut to cut out the trays for the nugget treats. We're going to cut out the toppers, just this part of the topper, because we're going to use a punch for this part of the topper. And we're going to cut out all the nugget wrappers. Now I did a tutorial on the same thing last year with the ink colors from last year, and I used a paper trimmer. And you can also follow along with all of our steps using a paper trimmer as well. So just let's get started, and then I'll show you those nuggets in a better angle in just a minute, because I want to do the scan and cut part. So we're going to go to pattern, and we're going to go to shapes. Okay, and we want the first one, which is a square. We are going to make this into a rectangle. So first, just check this box, the arrows that go up and down, side to side. And by checking it or selecting this box, the height and width will not stay in proportion to each other. So it means we can change the height and the width will not change. And that's what we want. We want a height of 2.25. Okay. And then we want a width of, now normally if you're using a paper trimmer, folks, if you're following along, just make your tray 5 inches. But because we have a Brother Scan and Cut, we can actually get a little more accurate and make it like 4.95. It just needs to be a smidgen less than 5 inches. So that way the nugget doesn't have a little bit of a gap, the candy. We're going to put 6 of those on a piece of Seaside spray cardstock, which is one of the ink colors. Okay. That's one of the ink colors. We're using Seaside spray, and I'll show you that at a better angle in just a minute. And we're going to say set. Okay, we're going to have 6 of these on a piece of 8.5 by 11 paper. And there's not really a lot of space between them, and we'll have a little bit of leftover cardstock at the end there. Okay, so all we need to do now is set our blade depth, and we're going to cut. So blade depth of 5. Let me move my light on here. Okay, blade depth of 5, because I'm using a CM350 or a ScanNCut 2, I have to set my blade depth. If you're using a DX model of ScanNCut, you'll have auto blade technology. So I'm using a blade depth of 5, I'm going to say cut, and I'm going to then say start, and it'll take a minute, and I'll record the video, and we'll make the tray. I'm going to stop the video, and when we come back, we'll make the tray. Okay, good. See you in a minute. Okay, it's done cutting. I'm going to unload the mat. We're done with the scan and cut for a minute while we make the tray. And here are the trays. We'll just make a couple just to give you the idea of how to do this. Now, when I first saw these in colors, I wasn't very excited, but then when I saw how they went together, I'm like, I can live with this for 2 years, because it's 2 years. In fact, I'm going to show you these in colors, and I want to compare those to last year's colors as well. So here are in colors. Okay, Rococo Rose, Purple Posy, Pretty Peacock, Terracotta Tile, and Seaside Spray. So we're using the Seaside Spray. Last year's in colors, you can see why I was more excited, were these colors. They're like more of the primary colors. Pineapple Punch, Grapefruit Grove, Lovely Lipstick, Call Me Clover, and Blueberry Bushel. And the thing about the colors from last year is they're still good for another year, so they didn't go away. And what's nice about these colors, these new ink colors, is they sort of complement so these colors are colors we don't have, but it makes, between the two sets of colors, we have a nice complement, a nice sort of rainbow effect. Okay, I might show that one time later as well. All right, so here's what we're making in a better angle are these nugget treats. So we need to just get these trays made. So we need our score. We need our Simply Score, or any kind of scoring, any scoring tool you have. Okay, and I already have one here, but we'll just do a couple so you can, that way you make sure you get the angle. All right, so the Brother Scan and Cut doesn't do a good job of scoring. You could sort of somewhat score by making dashed lines, but it doesn't really score as good as as good as your Simply Scoring tool, Simply Scored, so by Stampin' Up. Anyway, what we're going to do is I like to use the small end of my scoring tool. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 over, I'm doing 3/8 of an inch. Okay? And I could just measure it from the right side as well, but it's easier if I flip it over and do 1, 2, 3, 1/8 of an inch. And I'm going to show you one more way of doing that with with the Simply Scored tool. You can take these little markers and you can put them there so that you can use like the same measurements over and over again, which is nice, and they snap in. Okay, let me get another tray. We'll do it one more time. See, now we just use that as our guide. Okay, we use that little arrow and we flip it around. Now we could count in from the right side. We don't need to flip the paper around. The problem with doing that is there's just more room for error unless you put a little notch over here on the right side. I find it's easier to flip it around because then I always get an even score on both sides. Then you get your bone folder or whatever tool you have. Let's make this, let me turn this angle down here. Okay, and you get your tool and you just make the creases flat. So I like to just kind of flip the paper over. I'm using a little spatula. I prefer that over a bone folder. I think I got this at Hobby Lobby. I don't know. It's like you can get it at a home supply store. It's kind of like a paint spatula. All right, so there's my little tray for the nuggets. And again, that Seaside spray. We're gonna do one more. So if I scored downwards, then I flip it over and I fold upwards. Okay, and you're just burnishing the score lines. Okay, so there we go. We have our trays. Our ScanNCut helped us. Now, this is what I want to do next instead of the nugget wrappers. I want to do something next because it's kind of like, oh, I discovered something. So let's put this paper down. I was trying to decide like how to make how am I going to make these sentiments? And I decided on do something creative every day because, oops, you have to be careful not to lose these things, crafty friends, because they do pop right off. I'm going to stick it back on. All right, so I was thinking, okay, I'm going to use this do something creative every day sentiment. So then I was like, okay, well, how am I going to put it on there? And so I thought of using the punch. So I took this Pretty Peacock ink, okay, is what I did. And it's kind of, these new ones are a little bit harder to open, but they're easy to, we get it. They're easy once you understand how to open them. Let's put something down to protect our table here. All right, so here we go. We have some ink. We have some Pretty Peacock ink. And then I kind of just made this discovery. I'm going to use a stamping block C, okay? And I'm going to use this really awesome stamp set that's been around this year as well. And it's also in next year's catalog. So yay, it's carrying over. Crafting Forever. I've shown how to cut this scissors out with the ScanNCut and a bunch of other stuff, the pens, the little, I've shown how to cut out all the stuff with the ScanNCut over the year. But anyway, let's get this one out. Do something creative every day. Let's put it on our stamping block. Okay, I prefer not to even use the stickers, but it's up to you. The new cling stamps have like super sticky stickers, like too sticky in my opinion. Okay, so anyway, but that's not it. Like I wish our mats were too sticky. Let's not digress. So I'm tapping some ink, and then I'm going to put this sentiment here. And it doesn't really matter how I put the sentiment there because I'm going to punch it out. So what I kind of discovered by accident was like, because I was like, oh, I want to use the rest of this paper I cut the trays out of. And then I discovered by accident that you can like use this Pretty Label punch and make this cool shape. Let me focus that. Okay? So I'm using the Pretty Label punch to make a cool shape so that the bottom part at an angle sticks out and the top part. So now I can wiggle. Always leave extra paper. So like to hold on to and to grip, because it helps you kind of arrange. Whenever you're punching, it's good to have a long strip of paper. Okay, we're gonna put this on another Pretty Label anyway, so pretty cool, right? So I discovered that and I was like, oh, okay, well that's a cool shape. So at first I was gonna put that on the nuggets. Let me find one that isn't decorated yet. Okay, and I was like, oh yeah, that'll work. And then I'm like, that's kind of plain. So then I came up with just using the Pretty Label. Oh, let's use this one. Okay, here, well, you're gonna use this one. So then you take the Pretty Label punch and you punch the whole thing. So you punch a whole shape. Okay, and then you put this shape onto that shape. Okay, so it's kind of like an interesting little way of using up. So you've made 6 trays out of that paper. Okay, and now we got this far. We made 6 trays. Let me just focus that. And then you make so we can make a few toppers. Maybe, I don't know, 3, 4, or 5 toppers, which I'll stop the video. I'll finish making the toppers, or this part of the toppers. And then you're going to adhere these together using dimensionals. So I'll just do one just to show you. And then I will stop the video and I'm going to cut out some of the wrappers, and I'm going to come back and show you how to cut out the wrappers, and I'll just leave myself one set of wrappers, one color to cut out, so you don't have to wait for like every color to cut out. Because when you cut out the wrappers, you need to cut a piece of the designer series paper for each. You need to cut one piece of each. Okay, so far so good. That's partially how to make I'm going to teach you in the next part of the video how to make the wrappers and the topper, and then how to finish our embellishments. All right, so I'm going to stop the video again, and we'll be back in a minute with some toppers. Hello, crafty friends, I'm back. And for those of you that don't have a Brother ScanNCut, and you've used your piece of cardstock and you've cut out your trays and you've scored your trays, I just wanted to let you know that this piece here that's left over is about 1.5 inches. I measured that, and that was to use if you have like the pretty label punch and you want to use that little trick that we used where you leave a little bit sticking out on both sides like this. It was about 1.5 inches. Okay, so that's here. So that, just take any strip of paper, any strip of cardstock, 1.5 inches, and you can do this part. All right, so then I went and I cut the designer series paper. Okay, that's what I did. Well, I paused the video, so not paused when I stopped the video. So here's what we're doing next. We're cutting out the wrappers using the ScanNCut. Look how much time that saves us. And look how pretty the patterns are and how they're all aligned. So, but I'm going to show you the paper. Okay, this is the designer series paper. So every time we come out with a set of ink colors, they come out with a 6x6 set of designer series paper to go along with those ink colors. Okay, so it's pretty cool. It's, double-sided, and there's 2 patterns. And I'm going to show you, after we start wrapping the nuggets, what these look like and what the nugget treats look like in the different patterns. But I like to keep all of the same patterns the same when I make my treats. All right, so let's pull these off. So what we get out of one sheet is 1 topper and 5 wrappers. Now, if you weren't to use a sheet and you're using a paper trimmer, if you use a paper trimmer, you're going to get 1 extra wrapper out of 1 6x6. But you know what? I'm sacrificing the extra wrapper for saving me time, because I make so many of these that I need to save the time rather than the paper at this point. Sorry, trees. All right, here we go. So here's what we're going to make on our ScanNCut. We're going to make this little pattern here of wrappers. Okay, so I'm just going to start back. I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to erase mine, delete mine. We're going to say pattern, because I want you to be able to do this from scratch. So pattern, we're going to get a rectangle, so we start with a square. We check this box or select this box so it's not in proportion. We make the width 2.25 because this is our topper, 2.25. And then we're going to make our height 5 inches exactly, because we're going to score this. Oops, 5. So we're only going to put one of these on the mat. There we go, 5 by 2.25. I'll have all the measurements in the description. I'm using the right side of my mat because it's more sticky. Your mat may have a personality, so put things wherever it's stickiest, because you're going to use that spot over and over again. We're going to say add, and we're going to add the nuggets that go horizontal, the top 2. We're going to do the square. We're going to make it a width of, all right, let's check this box again, 3.25. Nugget wrappers are 3.25. Okay? By 1 inch tall. So the height is 1 inch. And again, in the description, nugget wrappers are 1 by 3.25. There, just like that. And we want 2 of those, 2 nugget wrappers. Set those on the mat. Put them like this. So our 6x6 paper is going to fit right in that little section. So just stick these right there, not touching each other. See what I mean? Not touching each other. You don't want to. them to run into each other. Now we need to add 3 more nugget wrappers right there. So we're going to say add, but this time we want them to go vertically. So vertically, height is 3.25. Now we can start with the height. So we're going to, uncheck that box, 3.25 height. And then width, 1 inch. And I could have just drew some extras and did some rotation, but it's easier just to, honestly, just to make new rectangles than to rotate them. Okay, we're gonna put 3 of these on the mat. So 1, 2, 3. Now we have all our nugget wrappers. They're gonna go right here. You don't want them to touch the topper, and of course, you don't want them to overlap, and you want them all to fit in the 6x6 paper. You can even go down to 3 inches. The nugget wrappers at 3 inches would still work, but it's better if you have a little bit of overlap. That's why I use 3.25 inches. I could align these little squares, yada, yada, but you get the idea. Okay, so let's say, okay, now we're gonna cut. When using designer series paper, I'm just taking a piece of this designer series paper. Here, let's take a piece we'll actually use. We'll take the purple. Okay, so we'll take the purple posy. I'm gonna put it there, and then you can just, when cutting designer series paper, you can just keep replacing it over and over, and imagine how much time this will save you. I use a blade depth of 3 usually, but my blade is losing its magic touch, so I'm going up to a blade depth of 4, but do use whatever your machine requires. I'm going to recommend a blade depth of 3 in the description, because that's what I always usually use for designer series paper. But I've been working this poor little thing so much, I need to give it another sharpen. I really like the ScanNCut blades because they last really long. Okay, so what we're doing is we're cutting the wrappers. I'm not going to pause the video. I'm just going to show you that I've already wrapped some nuggets, and we'll just wrap another purple posy. I've already wrapped some, and we're going to wrap some more, and we're going to put them, assemble the trays. All right, so peel that off, right? Unload, it says finish cutting, unload the mat. Okay, and then I can peel this off and I can get rid of the machine because we're done with the machine, but we do need the scoring tool. So imagine making a whole pack. 48 pieces of designer series paper come in the pack. Imagine cutting 48 pieces of this. Stick it down, press cut again. You don't even have to remove the mat. Stick it down, press cut, peel it off. Stick it down, press cut, peel it off. I've done about 30 of these already, and I don't know what I would do if I had to use a paper trimmer for all this. It's like, what did we ever do in the past? Crafty friends. All right, so now you take your toppers, put them down the simply scored, and you take these toppers, and all this is you're scoring at 2.5. Hey, my stylus can be a scoring tool. I'm not going to use it as that because I have a scoring tool, but it would work as a scoring tool. So 2.5, and that's it. So that's the topper, one of the toppers. What I like to do is make a bunch of toppers, and I like to, let me just show you that close up so you don't miss anything. 2.5, because this was the one that was 5 inches exactly. So 2.5 I'm scoring with my simply scored tool. I like to make a lot of toppers, and then I have options for how they match the different treats. Okay, let's make some room. Let's wrap some nuggets. Putting that down. Okay, we're wrapping nuggets. So we have toppers, we have choices, we have nugget wrappers. So let's see. One of the cool things about using the ScanNCut, tilt down, is that the patterns, you have the same amount of patterns that align when you're all done. So what do I mean by align? So some of these go this way, vertically. Some of the patterns go horizontally. Okay, so I'm just going to finish off some of each by grabbing some nuggets. So we have some nuggets. They come in the, I'll link in the description to where you can get this in bulk, but you can also just get them at your grocery store. Maybe they go on sale, maybe there's coupons. I'm using assorted Hershey Nuggets. It's important when you wrap your nuggets to only use rolling adhesive. I'm using, let's use this one here. I'm going to use the dark nugget, and I'm using my tape glider, but you can use snail adhesive, or you can use this stuff. If you don't have a tape glider, you can use this stuff. It's called tear and tape. The important thing is not to use glue. Never use liquid glue when you're working with food items. Okay, so I just put a piece of rolling adhesive on the back, and I'm using the dark nugget with the light paper for contrast. It doesn't matter if you just maybe you only have one kind of nugget. Maybe you're afraid to use the nuggets with nuts, in which case you might just buy a pack of this kind of milk chocolate nuggets. But I'm going to put the sticker with the nuts on the back. Not with the nuts, but it says there's nuts. Okay, that one goes with that set. See how the patterns go the same way? And this one, let's see. Let's just grab a couple. Nope, that's not the right way. Sometimes I cut out the same one over and over. It doesn't matter, we have enough to make one, so you get the point. So now I put them in order. Rococo Rose, Purple Posy. Here, this one is Pretty Peacock, right? And Terracotta Tile and Seaside Spray. So then we get our tray that we've scored, and we put one line of rolling adhesive on it. Okay, you've wrapped all your nuggets. Again, you just remember that was a 3.25 piece of, that's all we did. I'm not going to wrap any more, but you could, if you don't want to wrap any adhesive on the top, say you only had glue, then if you only had glue, I would use it down here so it doesn't touch the candy itself, and then that little part. But I really recommend rolling adhesive whenever you're working with food items. All right, so here we have a tray, so let's build our tray. Remember I said it's better to be a smidgen less than 5, because when you're at 5 inches, the little nugget kind of leaves a little gap. I stick the first nugget down. Okay, I press a little bit. I center it. The rest are easy after that. They're really easy to center. And I would do an assembly line. Do all your nugget wrappers, do all of your trays, then stuff them all into bags. See how we made it little? It's 4.95 and it just fits perfectly in the tray. So now another product that you can get now. I get these all the time. I throw them in my order every time. They are called 2 by 8 inch cellophane bags by Stampin Up. It's almost like they were made perfectly to hold Hershey Nuggets. It's like they did that on purpose. That's why I make Hershey Nuggets all the time. I make it for every kind of designer series paper we have. So then you kind of pinch it to find out which side's the open side. So that's the open side. I'm sliding my tray in so that the Seaside spray is on the bottom. The only time I vary from Seaside spray being on the bottom is when I have a tag topper that's Seaside spray. So let me show you an example. So my tag topper is Seaside spray. So I put, no, that's not the good example. Wait, if my topper is Rococo Rose, sorry. When my topper matches, if my topper was Rococo Rose, like this, I wouldn't put Rococo Rose next to Rococo Rose. So I flipped the tray over. I put the Rococo Rose down there, far enough away from that topper. That's just my own personal design tip. That don't put like the same color topper next to this color nugget. Okay, now I'm going to trim a little bit off. Okay, so trim a little bit, just a little bit of plastic off so that when your topper goes on, let's use this topper here, see? When your topper goes on, it doesn't stick out the top. If you don't trim some off, the plastic might be too long and then you have this big gap. If you don't trim some off, you're going to have this big gap there, and it's better to kind of look a little bit tighter. Okay, so that's the topper. So now to put the topper, I'm going to get the rolling adhesive again, and I just put 2 strips of it. Sorry my camera's shaking so much. I got a lot going on this table. 2 strips of rolling adhesive on the outsides. Okay, let me shine that in the camera. See, 2 strips of rolling adhesive. Not too much. The person has to be able to get the candy open. Okay, then you lay this down onto the topper. You lay the plastic down. I didn't have to trim so much off actually. Okay, now we have our topper, and now we go back to, remember I said let's create a bunch of those do something creative every day toppers. I said let's create a bunch of those. So we did, we created a bunch. And now that we have a bunch, we see which one contrast, plural, sorry, with the background. Okay, so we want to put, like that one would be good. Okay, or that one. It doesn't matter because terracotta tile contrasts with the background. So either way, I'm going to use this one because it happens to already have some adhesive on the back. So then I can flop it on there real quick. So adhesive, and maybe tilt it a little, it looks better. It doesn't matter, but I think it looks a little better when you tilt it. Okay, now I said, oh, those are pretty cool after I got done doing that. But then I said it needs a little something more. right? Needs something more. So that's where those little gems come in. I told you I have a lot going on in this table. So here's the gems I've been using for my nuggets. They are called 2019, 2021 faceted dots. Okay, that's what they're called, not gems, faceted dots. And they glitter, and usually I tell you when I'm crafting, oh, put things in groups of 3. But you know what? It looks better to put all 5 in there, in my opinion. So I'm using this little spatula from my Take Your Pick. This is called Take Your Pick tool we sell. And the little spatula, these are so strong, these things. The adhesive is so strong on there that it's like really hard to get them off. So I just use my little Take Your Pick tool. So I'm just using all 5. Doesn't matter where you put them, but I just use all 5. Now if you have well, it does kind of matter where you put them. Like if you have this one here, purple posy, you're not going to put it on the purple posy background because it won't contrast. So stick the purple posy one on the, well no, maybe let's put it on the terracotta tile. You want to put it where it contrasts. See? Oh, we're missing one color. Seaside spray. What are we missing? Here, we're missing one of these. Let's stick one of the medium size. So I'm just trying to vary the size. No particular reason. I stick a couple on top of the topper, and I stick a couple on the sides. So there, it kind of goes against my group of 3 concept, but now I have one of each in color, and I'm really focusing on the in colors. Last, we do the labels. If you want to learn how to make your labels, or you want to do this for your customers, I do have a label making course. Shameless plug for my label making course on Udemy Academy. I'll link to that in the description. There's a coupon for a discount on my course. Okay, let's move this out of the way and show you all the different ones and the different patterns that you can create. So you notice that, you know, there's patterns going different ways because we cut it with the Brothers ScanNCut. These go up and then these go to the side. See, I just like to have consistency with the way I put the patterns inside there. It's a little thing. It's just something I like to do personally. Okay, I'm still showing you all the same type here. Oh, and we have to put the labels on. I think we have to put the labels on just one of them. Okay, the labels. The labels are, that's what the labels look like. And I show you how to make different kinds of labels in Microsoft Word. So, okay, here, 2019 to 2021 in colors. Okay, I stick that label on. I trimmed them so they both fit on there. I printed out 30 labels per page, and I trimmed them so they fit on there. Let's cover this one up a little. And then I put contains nuts. That's what I put on the back of all my nuggets. I usually just put, if I wasn't putting the in color labels and I'm going to a craft fair, I would say created by Kimberly Smith here, but contains nuts. Always label your products, because if this is trying to showcase in colors, you need to say that. The first year I did this, I didn't even say that. Then last year I got really smart and I said, hey, I'm focusing on the in colors. And this year I even went a step further with the color swatches that I created out of the cardstock. But I digress. I'll show you that in a minute. All right, I wanted to show you the rest of these nugget patterns because I know there's more patterns. Okay, these are the same. Oh, here we go. So here's a few that I made with this other pattern, which I like, that has the lines on it, the dotted lines. Okay, so we have a few of those. All my customers are getting these. All my customers from 2019 that ordered it during the year 2019. Okay, there's those kind. And then I bet you're wondering how this gingham looks. And I think it looks pretty cool. As long as you use it all together, as long as it's like all gingham, it looks cool. I think gingham would clash with that, but I think it looks good by itself. Then I even did gingham for the topper, for both the topper and the background. Okay. I have other ones in the works. Like I have like different varying stages of completion for these projects, but I hope you like that idea. Now I took the color swatches, so there's one more thing I do for my customers. So last year I put the sticker on top with the in colors. This year I'm doing the color swatches, again using labels. And you get these color swatches in my course. Or you can just buy the color swatches. If you're not computer savvy, I have them on my Etsy shop, these color swatches. Where are they? Here we go. So I'm doing this. This is what I'm doing. I'm giving out these color swatches to everybody. So along with your nugget treats, to get the pieces of cardstock. And of course, yes, I cut these out with the ScanNCut. These little labels. And not the labels. The labels I cut out on Microsoft Word, on my printer. I'm talking about these things. These little tags. Let's call them samplers. These little sampler tags I cut out with the Brothers ScanNCut using the built-in tag pattern. So then I made swatches for everybody. I tied it together with glitter organdy ribbon. and I'm putting those in with my survival kits. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this long tutorial, and I hope you can go out and make some nuggets with whatever designer series paper you have, and your brother ScanNCut or paper trimmer or whatever you want to use. Thank you. This is the Papered Chef.